welcome back to Camison's Crafts. Today I'm going to do another coaster. So again, I'll show you my supplies pretty quickly. I have shown it to you in my first video, but I measure my resin with just a tablespoon. It's kind of gross and old, but I can't find a thing that will measure it correctly. I don't know where to find them, so I just use that. This is my molds. I have a ton of them, and I have a couple heart-shaped ones. I just got these at the dollar store a couple months ago. They come in like blue and pink and orange and green, and they come with pink hearts. As always, just wear gloves. In one of my Michael's hauls that had the dollar store haul with it, I showed you that I got really thin popsicle sticks. These ones aren't like the thick ones where the wood pieces are gonna like come off in your resin that I've read, so hopefully those work a little better than the ones that I've had before. Then, as my last coaster video that I did for the wedding theme, I'm gonna do the same background. I haven't Mod Podged this one, so I will Mod Podge this one and show you how I do that when I get to that point. And then I'm gonna put the date that the couple was married and probably red letters across here. So they'll have that, and then I'll also show you the other one I did. So it's a set, so it's got two, one for Mr. and one for Mrs. kind of thing. It doesn't say Mr. and Mrs., but it would be one for her to use, one for him to use, or however, whatever they're going to do, if they were going to use them or if they were going to display them. But I've got to Mod Podge this with the stickers on it, so I'll show you how I do that. And then right now, what I've got in my cup is the equal parts of the resin, part A and part B. I have that mixed together. I just did an ounce of each and an ounce. It might be a little over an ounce. I do a tablespoon of each to hopefully get an ounce. So I'm going to have an ounce at bottom, and then I do anywhere from an ounce to 2 ounces on the top when I cover my piece. So what I will do is I will pour the resin in. Sorry, it's close up. Let's see. I pour the resin in. Then just scrape it all out. I don't know if you can really see scraping it out. The only bad thing about using a smaller stick compared to the ones that I used before is that it is smaller, so it does take more time to get it out like this way, versus the big one could scrape it all out. But I would rather have more time trying to scrape out of the thing than trying to pick out wood slivers that come off those sticks. And I don't know if it was just those sticks that I had, or if they're all kind of going to be like that, more fray. But these ones work really good so far. As far as mixing, it makes it sort of a little bit smoother. So what I do is I kind of just, I don't know how well you can see it since it's clear, just spread it around the coaster bottom of the mold. As I stated in my last video, the bottom is like rough, like you can see it's textured. It doesn't mess up the coaster, it doesn't make the coaster unbalanced, anything like that. So that's kind of good with these. I was hoping that it wouldn't cause a problem when I bought them, because they were only $1, so I wanted to be able to stock up on a lot of them for doing multiple bases at a time. So that's good to know. Just if you have a textured bottom, only buy one mold and see if it's gonna be able to make it flat like a coaster. So then I just kind of run, just like if you were using this mold as a pastry with chocolate, you just kind of run it around, make sure it's even. And then once it's even enough, as even as you can get it with as much as you put in there, if you only put an ounce in there, as long as the whole base is covered and the next layer is not going to seep through, you're fine. Sometimes it goes to one side, and you know this side over here would be higher than maybe this side. That's okay. It will even out at the top layer, but you want to make sure it's all covered, so the top layer that will, you know, sandwich your piece in your design. So that's going to go above this. I don't know if I'm making sense, but the resin that's going to go above this, you don't want it to seep through on the bottom. I had that happen one time. I think when I was testing to make sure it was dry, I pulled on the sides, and so a lot of resin went underneath, and it was all ski-wonkus. If I can find it, I don't think I threw it away. If I can find it, I'll show you what it looks like at the end. If you don't have the bottom layer even, or if you mess with it too much and it seeps through the side. Okay, so I found it. I'm gonna pause the video so you can see this. I wanted to put it now so it would make sense. So when I pulled on the sides, it came off the side, so it seeped underneath, right? So if you can see, like, I don't know if you can see it, but that shouldn't be, my finger shouldn't go up. It should be flat, unlike this. So I had checked it and picked it up and moved the mold, and it came apart from the side. So when I poured in this top resin to cover this, it went all crazy underneath here, if you can tell. It was pretty crazy. So be careful of that, be mindful of that. And now we'll go back to the video. I'm gonna see if I can do this aerial shot for you. You see all those bubbles? So you take a lighter and you just pop all those bubbles. So now, without getting a shadow there, now you can tell that it's going to be clear. It's not as like that grimy bubblies. Obviously you could see the bubbles. So I'm going to make sure that I got it all. It's hard to see through the lens. I didn't know if I touched this in the resin. I don't think I did. So it's kind of hard to do it through the lens, but I did want to get a good shot of that because I didn't in my last video. You just pop all the bubbles. So I'm going to put this back down. Sometimes you do have to pop your bubbles a couple times. Like sometimes the first layer is fine. You really only have to pop it maybe some bubbles like once around, really good, and then maybe sit a couple of minutes and do it again. Depending on what you put in your coaster would determine how many times you're gonna have to do your top layer. In my last video on my coasters, I showed you the wedding themed one with the wood pieces. That one I had to pop those bubbles a lot. Air bubbles get trapped underneath, come out the top, and then to me it ruins the piece, unless it's supposed to be in the piece, maybe like an underwater theme with the fish and the bubbles. But other than that, I think it really just makes the piece just not come together. And it's hard to see through, and it wouldn't be something I would buy if I couldn't see the design or if there were all these bubbles on it. Sometimes you can't get around it, sometimes it happens, but that is one of my tips, is to let it sit a little bit and then try it again and keep an eye on it. Once it gets tacky, you might be able to pop them with like a toothpick or a needle. That most of the time, especially on the top layer, they're in the middle, so you have to pound it really hard and then let them come to the top, and you might not be able to poke them with a needle. So you could always mix your resin in your whatever you're gonna mix your resin in, and then it gets really bubbly, and then just let it sit for like 20 minutes and then pour it in. That will help reduce your top layer bubbles as well. 20 minutes is pushing it, maybe like 10, 15 minutes. It just kind of depends on how much you have, but 20 minutes is kind of starting to push it because it does start to kind of harden. So that is what I'm going to do so far. I will reset and get ready to Mod Podge this, and I'll show you how I put the stickers on, and then I'll Mod Podge it, and then we do just have to wait the 12 hours for this to cure before we can put this on top of it. I will probably just Mod Podge it down to make it flat on the coaster like I did the last time. I don't like to use glue unless it's clear drying glue, obviously, because you can see it in the back of this one, as I didn't do a bottom color. I probably could have done a base color, but I kind of wanted it to match my last one. So we'll Mod Podge that with the stickers on, and then after that we'll be back in. Okay, so here I am just showing you kind of an easy way to apply the stickers, of course, one by one. It's not too complicated, it's pretty self-explanatory. With this paper and these stickers, it is relatively easy to kind of pull the sticker back up if you make a mistake, as you can see, and then realign it. So I will show you the month, the date, and the year, and then I will Mod Podge it for you. I didn't do it in order as far as, you know, doing the top side twice and the back side twice. I kind of did the top, the back twice, and then the top. So you'll see that, and then I kind of just tried to get around the edge, and you'll see that as well. But that is what I will do, and then I will be back to show you the rest. Alright, so now it is time to Mod Podge. I just use this Super Gloss Mod Podge. And I found the easiest thing to do is just use my finger. It gets a little messy, kind of like being back in elementary school with playing with the glue on your hands. So it does get kind of like that, but again, it's simple to use. I have stated that in my other videos. It is just like glue. It is going to dry clear, but it will allow you to use it as a glue. So here I am just Mod Podging the paper. Since paper is porous, when the resin touches it, it gets all grimy and kind of see-through and translucent, and that wasn't the look I was going for. So I'm using it to seal everything in, keep the liquid from ruining the design, but I have also used it as a glue, especially for my coasters. So what I've done is I've just Mod Podged one side, flipped it over, did the other side. You can kind of tell that there's a little like rip there. So I was trying to kind of seal all of that stuff in, and then when I go over it and it rubs off the side, obviously you want to move it so it does not stick. You'll see here shortly that I did mess up and not fully move it all the way, so at one point it got stuck and ripped the right here, and it got stuck and it ripped the paper. I don't like to redo things. One, I feel like it's a waste of product, but two, I like you guys to see exactly how I do it step by step, and there's always a way to fix it one way or another. So it didn't look too bad. I don't know if it would be something that you would notice right off the bat if I hadn't pointed it out, but I wasn't happy with it, so I was trying to figure out a way to cover it, which you'll see here shortly. So now I'm doing the top with the second coat of Mod Podge. It takes maybe anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes to dry, depending on how thick you make your layer. So in this case, Mod Podging something to seal it really uses a thin layer, but if you're using it more for a glue, it might take a little bit longer to dry, but it doesn't really take that long at all. Again, it dries clear, gives it the glossy look. I like to use my finger because a paintbrush leaves strokes, and I don't really like those streaks. So here I am just going to put it on the base that has been cured for 12 hours. And I'll show you here, as you can see, that I'm just going to show you how I measure it. Again, it's not ideal. It's with a tablespoon. I would like a better way to measure it. So if you have any ideas, definitely comment down below what you think I should use. Because this method is, it's easy, it's simple, it's not ideal. It would be easier to be able to just pour and measure right into one cup, or even two separate cups where you would just measure it, with the lines and the measuring cup, and pour it in and stir it. This I have to, use the spoon, dump it in, scrape it out twice into the bowl or the cup, and then stir it. So it is, again, not ideal, but it works for now, especially since I'm not making tons of them a day and just here and there. So it is a 2-part resin. The black one that I'm pouring in right now is the hardener. First one that I poured in is just the base. So I measure them, and then I will stir it together to kind of see how there's those lines that are seeping down to the bottom. You've mixed it enough when you cannot see the cloudy. It gets clear again. Hopefully you understood what I meant by cloudy. It gets gray, it doesn't get really clear. So here I am showing you the bottles, and I'll show them to you both at the same time. I did want to just show it to you so you can see that it is a 2-part thing. And how I process it in my head is, okay, I just poured the black one, now I gotta pour the white one, or vice versa. One's the base, one's the hardener. If you don't have equal parts, your resin piece will be too soft, won't set up all the way. If you try to take it out of a silicone mold, it will rip the mold. So that's another tip, is to make sure it's 110% sat at least 12 hours, and then it won't start to rip the sides of your mold. I ripped a mold that way by doing one of my, at the time, was my favorite piece with puka shells, and I ended up having to throw it away because it ruined the mold. So here I am just stirring it. The Easy Cast is the better brand in my opinion. It's a lot thinner, so it doesn't have bubbles. Once it's, again, not cloudy, that's how you know you're ready to pour it. The pour-on resin that I've showed you in my other video is a lot more bubbly, so that's where you would wait, you know, maybe not the 20 minutes, but maybe up to 15 minutes before you pop your bubbles, or you can leave it in the container and the bubbles will pop themselves and then pour it in, and you'll just have less bubbles you'll have to worry about. As I was talking about earlier, that's when you have to worry about that more with than this one particularly. But the coaster has hardened for the minimum of 12 hours. I have already Mod Podged my paper, so now I'm going to use the Mod Podge as a glue, again with my finger. I'm going to run it around the piece of paper that I'm going to put in my mold and press it down firm and kind of seal it all around, so you'll be able to see that. Took me a moment to open it and process it. Had to shake it up, so now you can see that I'm just spreading it around. Okay, and as you can see, I have put my design down, pressed it around the sides, made it firm, and just squeezed out any extra glue that I could. Doesn't necessarily have to be aligned with anything because it is a round coaster. Doesn't matter if the top side that I've got it facing is the top or if the bottom is the top, of course. But kind of get it as kind of as center as you can with the strip around the outside, as the paper is not the exact circumference of the mold. Now I am going to mix some more resin and pour it on top, and in a little bit you will be able to see that after I spent all that time earlier in the video stressing that you want to watch your bubbles, I made this mistake of having bubbles. So you'll see that in a little bit. You'll see me pop them a lot, and I just wanted to point it out now that even though I pop it a lot, you're going to still see some bubbles at the end that I had to fix. And I didn't do this one part on camera, but remember how earlier I told you that I was trying to figure out a way to cover the ripped piece of paper on the background? Well, this is where you'll see that it won't be covered, and then it'll cut to a clip of it being covered. I put some jewel over it, and then of course you had to make it even, so I did all of that. So that's what you'll see in the next couple of moments, is putting the top on, lighting the bubbles, still getting bubbles, and then you'll see me fix the problem up there in the corner by the Y. And then you'll see that I fixed the bubbles eventually with just a little with a little bow sticker, kind of a bow puffy sticker right there. You can see that this is the finished product. I had to fix the bubbles underneath that bow with the bow, and it doesn't affect how a glass will sit on it. Usually glasses are at the bottom are a little domed. This doesn't affect that at all. I've tested it with multiple glasses. I don't know ideally if they're going to be using these as coasters anyways, but those pearls that you can see are just the adhesive half pearls. They stuck right on in the resin. I didn't have to worry about them. I thought I'd have to push them down, but I didn't. So I had to put those there to make it even and cover what I wanted, and then I went to bed, didn't double check it after I had already spent 20 minutes trying to pop the bubbles. So there were some bubbles there. But it is usually a simple fix with your boo-boos and your mistakes. And again, I could have redid the piece of paper, but I wanted you guys to see start to finish of a product, how I do it. Now, this is the first coaster that I did and this set that I showed you in my last video. And then, of course, the one that I just did now. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, give it a big thumbs up and be sure to click the red button and subscribe. And I will see you next time on Cami Sans Crafts.